This week on Vaticano, Pope Francis reminds us to pray and to help migrants and refugees during this time of pandemic. Marking World Refugee Day, he also adds 3 new titles to refer to Our Lady in her Litany of Loreto. One of them is Comfort of Migrants. The new regulations at the UN in Geneva might leave the Holy See mission outside of discussions. Learn how the Holy See is defending its voice. Benedict XVI makes his first international trip since his resignation in 2013. Discover why he went to Germany, and we'll tell you about the strong bond the Pope Emeritus has with the Bavarian city of Regensburg. For this and more, Vaticano starts now.
The crisis caused by the coronavirus highlighted the need to ensure the necessary protection also for refugees to guarantee their dignity and safety.
Dignità e sicurezza. Vi invito a unirvi alla mia preghiera.
I invite you to join me in praying for a renewed and genuine commitment of all for the effective protection of every human being, especially those who have been forced to flee because of situations of grave danger for them or their families.
Per loro o per le loro famiglie.
Pope Francis has repeatedly turned to Our Lady for help, and on June the 2nd, he added 3 new invocations for the Blessed Virgin Mary, including Our Lady, Comfort of Migrants. The 3 new titles and invocations have been inserted into the litany known as the Litany of Loreto. They are Mater Misericordiae, Mother of Mercy, Mater Spei, Mother of Hope, and Solatium Migrantium, Comfort of Migrants. The Holy Father's appeal was part of his Angelus message the day after the 20th World Refugee Day, established by the United Nations in the year 2000. For World Refugee Day, the United Nations published statistics to show the range of the phenomenon of migration. The report says that every minute, 20 people leave everything behind to escape war, persecution, or terror. At least 79.5 million people around the world have fled their homes. Nearly 26 million people are refugees, around half of whom are under the age of 18. There are also millions of stateless people who have been denied a nationality and lack access to basic rights such as education, healthcare, employment, and freedom of movement. The Holy See has a permanent mission at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. The Holy See doesn't officially vote there for UN decisions as an observer. However, together with the Order of Malta's mission, it represents the positions of the Holy Father on a variety of subjects, including sharing the hundreds of years of experience of the Church's work with migrants. In 1914, Pope Benedict XV actually established the World Day of Migrants and Refugees to be observed in January in the Catholic Church, long before that of the United Nations. The pandemic has affected the way people work and live across the world. The same is true for the papal mission to the United Nations in Geneva. Under the guidance of the Pope's envoy, Archbishop Ivan Jurkovic, the mission has had to adapt its work to the trying circumstances.
Certainly the event of this pandemic was something that touched every embassy, every mission in Geneva, and also our mission. Our mission of the Holy See usually has the same premises, residence and offices, and this makes the living even more complex, more complicated, because the people who are coming and going, who are collaborators, are in touch also with the people who has nothing to do with the United Nations, they're just assistant staff and so on. So we had to define immediately how to behave. We restricted access immediately, especially because some of our co-workers are not that young anymore. it was certainly something that we have to adapt, and I think, thanks God, we are over, and we have to learn. And the most positive things to learn is that we can do many things more efficiently with less means, and this is a positive thing of this experience.
Despite the difficulties, the mission continues to advocate for the Holy See's positions at the UN, following the guidelines from the Swiss government and the UN's internal regulations closely. It's still a complicated situation to navigate.
We are now moving to a new way that will be probably different than before, certainly dominated by a hybrid participation. So it means something personally, something without personal assistance through internet. Certain delegations will be, or certain people who are more engaged in direct negotiation will have probably different treatment than other delegations that have status of observer, as the Holy See, NGOs, expression of public society. We'll see. We are going to learn from this, but we are starting this period, summer period, with the necessity to find as soon as possible a new way and to proceed.
These new circumstances actually threaten to limit the full participation of the Holy See in discussions, but the delegation is positive they'll find a way to make their voices heard. Their participation, even if only by way of internet technology for the time being, remains an important element of the influence and the involvement of the Vatican in global affairs at the United Nations in Geneva. Pope Francis, throughout his pontificate, has often advocated for migrants and refugees. He created the Vatican's Migrant and Refugee section on January 1st, 2017, in response to his experience on the Greek island of Lesbos, where the Holy Father met with refugees and remembered those who migrate. Pope Francis personally monitors the work of this section, and in the last consistory, the Holy Father elevated His Eminence Michael Czerny to the rank of Cardinal, Secretary of the section. The theme chosen by the Holy Father for the 106th World Day of Migrants and Refugees is Like Jesus Christ, Forced to Flee. In a few moments, we'll be back with more on Vaticano. More on Vaticano starts now. There are many reasons why people leave their countries. Some because of war or famine, others because of the economic situation, and still others because of persecution. What they all have in common is that their future depends a lot on the goodness of the people in a welcoming country. This is the story of a friendship, of an Italian Italian lawyer, Luca, and a refugee from China, Dalu. These two friends are celebrating their recent victory. Dalu received political asylum in Italy thanks to the efforts of his friend.
It was a big legal victory for me and for Dalu, because I give not only the legal assistance but the human hospitality in my home. He entered inside my home, he called father, my father, and my mother too. He entered in the family day by day, and slowly we fought for obtain the refugee status, and we obtained the refugee status only 2 months ago. My destiny crossed Dalu's destiny. We can use this expression in September 2019, last September.
1995年6月4号是天安门事件发生。
On June the 4th, 1995, the 6th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square incident, I reminded the listeners on the radio that today was a memorable day. But immediately after the broadcast of the program, I was censored and asked to write a review pleading guilty, saying that I was wrong. And then within a week, I was fired. And since then, I was unemployed and I could no longer find a job because there was this record in my personal file. No one dared to admit me. I was considered a dangerous person.
没有人敢录取我，我是一个危险人物。
This was really a revolutionary gesture. He made history in China because he challenged the system in an open way.
Dalu says that his life was spared only because he was a very well-known public figure, but he became socially isolated. His life changed when Dalu encountered the Catholic Church.
一个偶然的机会，
By chance, on the website of the Catholic Shanghai Diocese, I saw a choir recruiting freshmen, new singers. I am a music lover, so I went to the audition and did not expect that I would be accepted by them. This choir is very special. Every time before rehearsals, a priest will talk about the gospel of the day, and the songs they sing are all Catholic hymns. Very touching. Now, I know that it was a call by the Holy Spirit. Later, after studying for half a year, I grew to understand Catholicism. I was baptized and became a Catholic.
我后来灵洗成为一名天主教徒。
Despite the difficulties facing the church in China today, Dalu highlighted the strength of the faith of Chinese Catholics and is convinced that the church in China will have a bright future.
中国教会
We have only one head, the Pope, but the situation in China is very special. We still have a patriotic association. I belong to the church on the ground, so I must obey the management and leadership of the Patriotic Association. But what they say is completely inconsistent with what we accept from Catholic doctrine. I greatly appreciate Pope Francis. He has the courage to negotiate with China. I also believe that he is a very wise person.
会是光明的。
We are fighting this battle for truth. We are fighting this battle for hope, dignity, courage every single day. And Dalu is writing his own book that is an amazing diary of 25 years or more of persecution.
I think we cannot just listen to what the communist government says. We have to look at what it does. The situation of the Catholic Church under the supervision of the Patriotic Association has not changed until now. Chinese people cannot access the Vatican's website freely and cannot freely request other information related to the faith. Such an environment must first be changed.
首先必须要改变。
We know that, yes, we are taking risk. It's not easy battle, but we need people, we need the prayers, and we need that people come close to Dalu.
首先，
Chinese people need to know the truth about the protests and demonstrations in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, many people do not know. I am one of the few people who knows the truth, and I also immediately think of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Hong Kong is the beacon of hope for democracy in China. If this beacon falls down and goes out, China will enter a dark
中国
age.
将会进入黑暗时代。
Dalu has a wife in China. This is a big danger and problem that we think about her every day. And we know that Amnesty International is monitoring the situation, our situation, from London. The General Secretariat is working, and we feel a little safer. But we know that we are challenging a bloody regime.
我想说，不管是中国人，还是世界地方，
Whether it is the Chinese people or people from other parts of the world, we are faced with two choices. Which world do you choose to follow? Is it the world on the ground, or what the Lord told us, the world in heaven? They are different ways of life. One is the way of life so that you may enter the heavenly world in the future, and the other is to be confused by the reality of the material world and pleasure, to take the path of death and to enter the dark world.
进入黑暗的世界。
We'll be back after a short break with more on Vaticano. Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI traveled to his native Bavaria to see his last living family member, his 96-year-old older brother, Monsignor Georg Ratzinger, just a week before his death. The two brothers have always been known to be particularly close. In 2008, when Georg was awarded honorary citizenship by the city of Castel Gandolfo, Benedict XVI described their relationship as follows. From the beginning of my life, my brother has always been for me not only a companion, but also a trustworthy guide. For me, he's been a point of orientation and of reference, with the clarity and determination of his decisions. He's always shown me the path to take, even in difficult situations. According to the Regensburg Diocese, Benedict XVI traveled in the company of his secretary, Archbishop Georg Ganswein, his doctor, his nurse, and a religious sister. The Pope Emeritus made the decision to travel to his brother in Regensburg at short notice, after consulting with Pope Francis. The last time Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI visited home was in 2006, during a pastoral trip to Germany. The city of Regensburg and the people there are closely connected with Cardinal Ratzinger, who worked at Regensburg University from 1970 to 1977. Princess Gloria of Thurn and Taxis became a friend of Joseph Ratzinger in the early 80s, and the contact between the princess and Joseph Ratzinger continued even after the conclave.
Ich war gerade in Rom.
I was in Rome at the time. I was in Rome quite coincidentally and was very fortunate to be there right when the white smoke rose up. In fact, I was even attending Mass at the time. I was attending Mass in what I believe to be a Polish church near Araceli when I received a message on my phone that the white smoke was coming out. And so I immediately went to St. Peter's Square. And well, yes, that was very impressive indeed. The energy and the whole atmosphere, the joyful mood and the energy in the air, well, it was just marvelous.
Die in der Luft lag, war also großartig. Der Besuch von Papst Benedikt.
The visit of Pope Benedict XVI to Regensburg impressed me very much. It was a major event. Regensburg was in a state of emergency at the time. I had the great good fortune to be friends with Mrs. Heindel, to be very close friends. She was the housekeeper of Monsignor Georg Ratzinger, the cathedral choirmaster, and she told me what happened at the house, how Pope Benedict came to the apartment to his brother's place, how they had lunch together. None of this was caught on camera. So it was on very familial terms, and very friendly, very relaxed. The major event was the celebration of the Eucharist on the so-called papal field.
Wir hatten dann auch
We had the great good fortune to be granted a family audience with Pope Benedict XVI, and on this occasion, my little niece presented the Holy Father with a zucchetto. And then he took his off and put the new one on, and for this reason we had the zucchetto here with us. The news of the resignation of Pope Benedict XVI was quite shocking. I was quite affected and deeply disturbed by it, and I am actually traumatized to this day.
eigentlich bis heute traumatisiert. Benedikt XVI. Ist ja schon viele Jahre.
Pope Benedict XVI was a Roman long before he became Pope. Of course, he visited Bavaria, also to see his brother. But I believe he is not so emotionally attached to Bavaria that he dreams of moving to Germany at his age. I believe he is quite happy where he is, that he has found his retirement residence, if you like.
Die Bekanntschaft mit Josef Ratzinger hat mich sehr
The
geprägt.
acquaintance with Joseph Ratzinger has left a deep impression on me, especially on my life of faith, and in particular reading the book Salt of the Earth. I also had the opportunity to travel with Cardinal Ratzinger to a Benedictine monastery. There I experienced him in a very personal way. I witnessed how he prayed, his whole attitude, his spirituality between his books and interviews, and of course the many homilies. So that really shaped me. He was a great influence on me.
Predigten. Also, das hat mich sehr geprägt. Er war ein großes Vorbild für mich.